the women in Lok Sabha are less than 15%, women in Rajya Sabha are less than 14%. So at least something will happen, you'll have more voices in both the houses.
So, I mean, I don't know how people will receive it. I don't even know the exact formulation. But the formulation is that this delimitation, the increase in number of seats will be given to the women in some way so that it fulfills the 33%, but at the same time, the people who would have to otherwise have had to give up their seats, because basically this is about power. Why don't people want this 33% reservation? It's not about caste, because if you look at the caste breakup in the Lok Sabha, or you will see that they have more than 27.5% OBCs already without any reservation. And that is because that is when a political party goes for elections, whether they have to have a woman candidate or a male candidate, they are simply going to look at the caste configuration of the constituency. They are not going to be so stupid that they will just get, upper caste women. Because that was the fear, that padkati auratein aayengi, short haired, upper caste women. That cannot happen. Where there was a backward caste man appearing, being chosen as a candidate, there will be a backward caste woman. So I don't think that the caste argument actually plays, has any merit to it, though it has been used. The main thing is they don't want the power going from men to women gradually. Because if you look, give me a minute more, if you look at the panchayats, in many cases, it began with 33%, but now in many states, especially take Karnataka, where panchayati reservation came first, women constitute more than almost 50%. Of the panchayat seats are held by them. They are not only winning their own seats, they are winning general seats as well.
Correct.
So it is about this power. It's eventually it's about power. Now, how this is presented, I don't know.
I think there was I think it was very fairly captured by this OTT platform, Panchayat.
Yes,
and what was the what was the word Panchayat Pati?
Pradhanji, they used to call him, but he was
Pradhanpati. So it very fairly captured the Indian reality. But what will stop opposition from not demanding that it be sent to the select committee or the standing committee? Because at least the bills need to be studied. You can pass the bill in the cabinet. Pankaj, Brijesh, you want to come?
No. It may, but the fact is that the opposition has already started building a tempo that, that they are requesting the government to, to bring the bill.
Yes, I was surprised that Venugopal said just pass the bill.
When you say that, when your senior leaders say that you introduce the bill and we will see to it, it's a bill by the Congress, it's a bill which was introduced by the UPA, for them to say that no, first send it to select committee, because everybody knows what sending a bill to select committee means. So I don't think that the BJP will, after Congress will, after openly declaring, publicly declaring support for it, in fact rather daring the government to bring the bill, to go back on their word.
Okay, Smita, you want to come in?
Caveat to that, if provided it is in the form that it was earlier, if it is a completely new bill, then obviously it will have to go to a committee.
Absolutely. If it's in a completely new avatar, then it's a genuine demand that the bill has to go to a standing committee or a select committee for the parliamentarians to study it. But there's a third aspect. Even BJP collaborated with Congress party. It was not passed like that in Rajya Sabha. BJP voted for the bill. Regional parties had an issue. If the bill Pankaj is introduced in previous avatar, what stops the regional parties from taking a different position across NDA and the so-called India?
Well, see, I would say, you are absolutely right when you talk about the scenario in 2010 when Samajwadi
And I have not even accounted for the position which DMK, ADMK, YSRCP, BRS, Shiv Sena, the Gowda's party, these regional parties BJD will take. Generally when we talk about regional party, it becomes a very North India centric debate. We'll go to Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh. There's the plethora of parties down south,
which were opposed
down India, and they have their own view.
Absolutely. And you know what, Kartikeya, you're right. And one common thread that joins all the regional parties from down south to Uttar Pradesh and Bihar is the caste factor. Now, why a Samajwadi Party or an RJD would be the vehement opposers of this bill right from 1996, as we heard, till 2010? Even they tore, RJD members in 1998 tore the bill into pieces in the parliament itself. Why was so? Because the caste factor comes into play, and Uttar Pradesh, for that matter, Bihar for that matter, at that time to send their representatives into the Lok Sabha, into Rajya Sabha, would have called for caste-based reservations once again. So, Samajwadi Party, Brijesh, at that time when Parkati comment came up, I mean, they were clear that we need a 33% reservation within the 33% reservation, and that 33% was they were talking about for the lower caste, the backward classes also. So that was another layer attached to it. But now things have changed, and trust me, run up to 2024, obviously, I think there is all likelihood the whatever form the bill comes into picture, if at all it does, I'm sure the standing committee would be coming up with recommendations before the elections.
Smita, you wanted to comment?
No, you know, this whole thing, I want to again repeat it. This whole thing that caste-based parties opposed the bill because they wanted...
At that time.
It is not true. Even at that time, at that time, I remember a Yadav MP from the RJD, he told me, he says, just sit and count the number of OBC MPs that we already have. And it was well over 27.5%. So my point is that it was just something to fool the public because nobody wanted to do the math. And as I said, a political party that wants to field a Yadav or Kurmi in an election, a male Kurmi or if he has to field a woman, he will do it from the same community because the votes depend on that. You know, they won't just pull out some woman. So which brings me to my first point, that this is about power, a power shift. So whether it is gender, whether it is caste, it's very, very important. And the reason why the Panchayati Raj bills got passed quickly is because those who passed the bill were not going to lose anything. It was the parliament that passed that bill. So they were not going to contest panchayat seats. So that's why it went through so smoothly. Whereas this bill has, and we must understand this, that this is about a transfer of power and that once it becomes 33%, it is bound to go up.
Okay.
Right.
Brijesh, do you think that the bill, if it comes into the new avatar, the government will be able to create consensus in the next 4 days?
Well, I think the government has numbers. The government has numbers, and it's not that the government. See, I mean, in previous avatar, the governments were heavily dependent.
Bill needs to be passed in both the houses.
I know. But what I'm trying to say is that has there any bill of the BJP which has fallen in Rajya Sabha if they wanted to get it through? No, they don't. So they have
You're saying that this bill is no
they-
different from any other bill.
See, the point is, what I'm trying to say is that what has changed is the arithmetic of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The arithmetic of Rajya Sabha is that at that point of time, JDU, RJD, Samajwadi Party were calling the shots. They had the numerics, and UPA 1, UPA 2 were not in power with absolute majority. Same was the case with Deve Gowda. Same was the case with Vajpayee. So all the time, majority of the time when the bill was introduced in the parliament, the government of the day didn't have brute majority. So they were dependent on 50 other regional parties. Now the government is brute majority. In Lok Sabha, it has brute majority. It doesn't matter whether any other party comes in. I don't see them coming with this bill without taking the rest of the smaller parties into account. And in Rajya Sabha also, I think if they're serious about it, they will definitely get the number. And it will be interesting to see if the Congress opposes that, because Congress has publicly said that voice their support for the bill.
Smita, yes?
Until unless it has something very contentious. Which
I want to contest this business about brute majority. It is true that in the past, no political party has had a brute majority. But on paper, in public, the Congress, the BJP and the left have, even though they may not have been part of the same combination, have all stated publicly that they were supporting this bill. And yet the bill has not got passed.
Well,
why?
See, the point is the brute majority factor comes into play.
Brute majority.
Hear me out. Ma'am, I heard you. I heard you. You hear me?
BJP could have supported the Congress.
Hear me out. I mean, there were three different parties coming together and voicing their support is completely different from a BJP which has 300 plus on its own. And you know, the dynamics have changed completely. Are you trying to say that 300 plus MPs are going to vote for somebody else if Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets it? Therein the brute majority factor comes in.
I'm saying that the reason for the opposition to the thing is actually widespread. It is because in the case of the BJP, the Congress and the left, politically, that was an official stand that they took, was that they were supporting the bill. Yet, the three of them could not come together for all these years to
I agree with you, but what I'm trying to say is that, you know, with three different parties,
the
whatever they want to state publicly,
I agree, the BJP will be on test.
Whatever they say on publicly or in private is completely different from one party having more than 300 plus seats in Lok Sabha.
I agree.
And if one party which has 300 plus MPs in Lok Sabha, do you see that any 5-10 MPs will vote against their own party, especially in a kind of you know, the strong leadership or the centralized leadership which the BJP has?
No.
That is what I meant by brute majority.
I'm not suggesting that.
That is what I meant by brute majority.
I think there's another thing. It's a constitutional amendment bill, and in this, I'll rephrase it. BJP does not need help in Lok Sabha. Congress never required big help in Rajya Sabha. Now, BJP doesn't need help in Lok Sabha, but it does need help in Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is complicated because regional parties will definitely want to have its say. If they want to, they would also like to share the pound of flesh. They will also would like to reflect in the glory that they participated in the Women Reservation Bill. Do you think that in case it comes, the passage is going to be extremely smooth, Pankaj, in Rajya Sabha? Because it's a constitutional amendment bill.
Absolutely.
It's not only passed by simple majority.
No, definitely the test obviously of the bill stays in the upper house of the parliament, and the regional parties obviously now the dynamics, you know, talking about once again the times that have changed. Personally, what I feel, you know, talking about say Congress to begin with, not a regional party, but yes, 2022, not far away, when Priyanka Gandhi clearly mentioned that if you vote Congress in power in Uttar Pradesh, they will give 25% reservation to women representatives, to women MLAs in the assembly. So that was one precursor, and we have seen Congress taking it to the next level. Now, talking about a DMK, talking about a BRS, or for that matter, YSRCP, why not? You are watching, we see, you know, as far as the electoral SOPs are concerned, free tickets to women, you know, given all sorts of, I would say, facilities in order to, so that the state government appears to be on their side.
I'll give you a point in case, for example, BJP, which seems to have, you know, everything in control, in Nagaland, Nefario passed a resolution in assembly. He said that we are opposed to UCC. So, you know, do you expect regional parties to behave differently when it comes to this, Pankaj?
They will definitely look at their own, you know, representation, own identity also, and see, I mean, it's not very necessary that on all aspects the party or the coalition members would respond in a similar fashion how the High Command would want them to. The state dynamics completely change, you know, from UP to Telangana or beyond Tamil Nadu. I think the impression that this particular bill will have will be pretty much different, and hence the different response.
I think, you know, Kartikeya, what the government would want is they're like going by their 24/7 election machinery and going by their, you know, trying to always perpetually searching for an option to score over the Congress party. I think if the Congress party goes back, and if there's like, you know, if there's a major contention or something which the Congress doesn't like, then that's a different story altogether. But if the bill is more or less what the UP had introduced, I think it'll be very difficult for Congress to back out after publicly voicing or saying that, you know, that they support bill. If they do, I'm not saying that, you know, it will have the requisite number in the Rajya Sabha, but if they do, then it gives the BJP a stick to beat the Congress with the fact that, you know, that we brought it, the Congress is in a position, the Congress leadership has said so many things, and yet they are not allowing the bill to pass. So I think, you know, it will have a potential of putting Congress in a slightly embarrassing position. I don't know how long the embarrassment will last and all, but I think, you know, going by the way politics is functioning right now, there are various issues, in which we felt that the entire opposition will be on one side, but all of a sudden, you see convenient walkouts, you see convenient sidings of several regional parties with the BJP, because usually they side with the ruling majority. So I don't think that the government would not have done its math before coming up with something like this.
Obviously, government must have done its part, but Smita, this it also reflects one tendency, not to pre-discuss important bills. If you recall the debate on forest bill, which was piloted by Sandeep Dikshit in Lok Sabha, or if you look at the OBC reservation bill when Arjun Singh was the minister, or even look at the Lokpal bill, Jaitley ji last minute decided he wants to have a separate select committee, and then ultimately there was a consensus for 21 days. Bills come, they get like 370, but then there is no pre-discussion and there is no long discussion. It's like there is no time to interact with the content. If you recall, when Sumitra Mahajan was the chairman in the first tenure of UPA 1, she was handling the land bill. I still remember 5 months, Jairam Ramesh had to introduce 2 amendments to get it back into shape, the way the government wanted it. She had made it different. So there is no interaction with such important subjects of late.
I agree. That is the point. I mean, already the session has started, and you are talking about a cabinet meeting happening today, and then whatever comes out of it, that will just be handed over. And then if people don't agree to it, then they'll say that, oh, you're anti this and anti that, you didn't keep your word. The point is that it is the right of every MP to see that bill. And there is a time given. I mean, it's all there, in the parliamentary rules about the length of time that the MPs should be given to take a look at, especially this is a constitution amendment bill. It's not even it requires 2/3 of those present and voting for it to get through. So, I mean,
that's the point I'm trying to make. It's a constitutional amendment bill. It's a different ball game. It's not a voice vote. A constitutional amendment bill requires you to press button, House needs to be in order. It requires a lot of things to be in place, Smita.
Yeah. I mean, the way that Article 370 was pushed, it came as a complete surprise to everybody in the House, and before they knew it, it was passed. So, anything is possible, really.
That is where the brute majority functions.
See,
just bulldoze through without caring for the numbers. And majority of the things which you talk about, Kartikeya, of course there is a lot of complaint and many.
But it's unparliamentary.
Absolutely.
It is unparliamentary.
So there are a lot of complaints, and rightly so. But I think this government has also decided that, majority of the case studies which you pointed out,
I do feel
the governments were not in absolute power. They just want to bulldoze through without.
I do feel that the role of standing committee stands reduced.
Well, yes.
You want to say something, Mark?
No, at least time-wise. Please.
No, I think in the bill-wise, I would remember when I would, my 17 or 16 years of reporting Parliament continuously, that standing committee was where you cut your teeth in context of legislation, in terms of the meetings they had, It was such it was a learning curve, The bill would be drafted, redrafted, the objection, the notes. It's a process of filtration before it comes to the Parliament. मजे के लिए बिल नहीं जाता है. I'm sorry to use that word. There is a process in place. That is why those standing committees are. It is through standing and select committees that legislatures effects and exercise on the executive. There is no other way you can exercise that opinion on executive. It's only through standing committees. Pankaj.
Well, see, definitely the procedure, the course of how a bill would finally come into shape remains pretty clear. But yes, as far as the timing, as far as the 4-day or 5-day session is concerned, what best can be done? See, I mean, we are speaking in terms that today cabinet brings up this bill and sends it for either to committee or for further discussions. But our point is, I mean, Kartikeya, if we take a look at it, 2014, when BJP came to power, it was the first 5 years were not about Ram Mandir or Hindutva that much. It was only in the later, when the second tenure began for Prime Minister Modi. Likewise, they are picking up from where Atal Bihari Vajpayee left, and this is one legacy part to the almost 50% voters in an election year which we are looking at. I think there would be certain concessions, there could be changes. I mean, that remains in anticipation. What if they bring not 33% quota reservation within the 33% reservation, but maybe reduce it so that all the regional parties also
I don't
come
think
together.
you know, my common sense. Smita, I'm coming to you. You- okay, please go ahead. You go ahead. You know, I don't think that there will be anything less than
No, no.
33%.
What I'm trying to say is, I have nothing against what the previous speaker said, that yes, there is an election coming up and they want to bring this important bill. And having announced a special session, why could the government not have given a copy of this bill that they are planning to bring 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago to the opposition and said, this is why we are bringing this bill, created an atmosphere, reached out to the opposition and said, look, this is an important bill. It will help 50% of our population. Decision making will become more democratic if we have more women, and done it that way. What is the idea of this big surprise thing? This all the time, some, jadoo or some, something, pulling something out of a rabbit's hat.